Now, Robin talked to you about the current state of the IT industry, and she told you how you can make money, co-managed services, compliance, cybersecurity. She said there's a lot of money to be made, but that's a lot of work, right? And this is a Godfather-themed, Mafia-themed event. So some of you are confused. You're like, wait, aren't we going to learn about more, right? Other ways to make money. Extortion, drugs, gambling, kidnapping, murder. Easy money, right? And there will be breakouts on that over the next few days, okay? So just relax. We're moving you slowly from legit to where the real money's at, right? We're about to have a panel come up and talk to us about the future of MSPs. But let's talk about the past for a second. How many of you gained weight during COVID? Right? How many of you gained weight during COVID? Jeff sent me an email from TMT. He said, Dave, we want you to wear the pink suit. I was like, I'm 30 pounds too heavy for the pink suit. So I had to go on an immediate diet to wear the pink suit. And sometimes we don't honestly assess how we're doing, right? I remember years ago, my daughter was 2 years old. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand if you have kids, right? So she was 2. What's a 2-year-olds, what's their favorite question, right? Why, right? They're full of questions. And so one morning, she's asking me weird questions, though. We're watching Dora the Explorer. How many of you ever watched Dora the Explorer, right? Watch Dora the Explorer? How many of you, all the Spanish you know is from Dora the Explorer? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like if you drop me off in a Spanish-speaking country, all I can do is get to my grandma's house for a birthday party. That's all I can do, and have some candy. That's all I've got in Spanish. So we're watching Dora, and she keeps asking me if my tummy is full, right? And I'm like, baby, my tummy's not full. You wake up so early, you know, we're just watching some Dora the Explorer. We haven't even had breakfast, so no, my tummy's not full. No, but Daddy, is your tummy full? No, Daddy's tummy isn't full. Just we're about to make it to the troll bridge, and we're not going to get the riddle right if we don't focus, right? It's time to focus, right? And she said, Daddy, is your tummy full? And I'm like, I'm going to need you to shut the hell up, right? We're trying to, Swiper's going to swipe everything we have if we don't stay focused. The hell's the matter with you, right? This isn't just a show. We're on an adventure. We're on a mission, right? How many of you remember life before DVRs, right? Like now you can be a decent parent and still watch your show. When my parents, when I was growing up, my parents had 2 options, right? Swearing and physical violence. That's all they had, right? Because they couldn't pause TV, right? We can pause TV and be decent human beings, right? She keeps asking me, is your tummy full? And finally, she started poking my stomach, right? And I started to realize where she was going, and I said, what are you doing? And she goes, Daddy, do you got a baby in there? And that's when I realized maybe it had gone too far, right? Maybe it was time to get it together. So one thing I want to encourage you to do over the next few days is be willing to do an honest evaluation of where you are with your business. There's going to be a ton of opportunities for you to improve your business, but you can't take advantage of any of them if you believe that you don't need to improve your business or there's nothing wrong with your business. And I've been telling myself I was in pretty good shape after the pandemic until somebody asked me to do a live event and I couldn't put on my pants, right? And so maybe some of this will be a wake-up call for you to help you see some things that maybe you haven't been completely honest with yourself about that have been happening over the last few years or maybe the lifetime of your business. Use this as an opportunity for honest self-evaluation. So it's time to bring out a 7-person panel to talk to you about the future of MSPs and maybe, just a little about extortion. So the first one is Michelle Ragusa McBain from Cisco. Rob Ray from Datto.
Thank you.
Colin Knox from Gradient. He definitely got the Mafia theme. I am loving the Adidas tracksuit. Feeling slightly unsafe right now. Dan Tomaszewski from Kaseya. I worked on how to pronounce everybody's name, and Joe said no one's ever put this much time into it. Joe Alapat from Liongard. Luis Giraldo from ScalePad. And a lot of people don't know this about the last company, ThreatLocker. They had a lot of name options that they looked at. I was talking to Danny before this. They looked at, but they didn't go with. Meat Locker, they didn't go with that. Hurt Locker, they didn't go with that. And then Gym Locker, settled on ThreatLocker. Let's bring out the last one, Danny Jenkins from ThreatLocker. And last but not least, Robin Robbins.
All right, very good. All right, look at this sexy panel up here. All right. All right, so I think we know who everybody is. I don't think we're going to go through introductions, if that's okay, unless anyone feels like the need to say something. Hi, Rob. How are you? You doing all right?
I'm doing great. You're just staring right at me.
Well, you know, I'm like,
do
you know that's you?
Yeah, I
Okay, just like, does everyone know this? We like sneaking Rob. It's been like a tradition now at every boot camp. We have to sneak him into the background
I'm a little
somewhere.
bit thinner than that.
So yeah, so that's very cool. Okay. Okay, so I want to ask you guys, we just talked a lot about mergers and acquisitions, MSPs getting merged and acquiring each other. We talked about, with Kaseya Datto, obviously. Tell me your thoughts. Anybody, we can take it in any order you want. What are your thoughts? Good, bad for the industry?
You should start.
Oh.
Yeah, Michelle's like, that's all you.
Pass.
That's all you.
It's funny. I was reflecting back. Actually, there's a picture that I sent to you earlier, and I noticed you posted it on Facebook from something 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was at this event, I was way younger and way thinner. You still look great, by the way. Where you think back to then and where the MSP space was. I mean, that was back in my Level Platforms days. We were trying to convince people to use RMM, forget about what it does for your business. And I think back to that company, little Canadian company, and then I joined Datto. It's a little Connecticut company. I think we were 50 employees, barely making payroll kind of thing. And then you fast forward to today and you see the billions and billions of dollars that are going around the entire industry. And I think it's reflective of growth, not only within the vendor community, because of course the vendors serve the MSP community, but there's a lot of MSPs that I talk to that are like, we were just kind of getting by, and then all of a sudden, now we've multiple offices, tons of employees, national-based companies, like, it's an insane thing, but I think overall, it's a very, very positive thing, because and there's a lot of reasons for that, and we can get into the roots of it. I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but I can easily do that. There is a renewed, not renewed, it's kind of always been there. We've been kind of the secret that nobody has kind of known about, and then all of a sudden, a couple of VCs sniff around, and a couple of private equities come around, and now all of a sudden, everybody's super interested in everything that the MSP market is doing. And it is the hottest thing in IT, and everybody wants into the pool. So M&A overall, I think, as you continue to see the growth, as you continue to see the money going back and forth, ultimately, at the end of the day, if we look back, these have all been very, very positive things. I understand, human nature is to want to turn around and, human nature is to reject change. We're not good with change. As human beings, we hate change. We absolutely do. But things are going to constantly move and change, and I think the more that we adapt to those and continue to move forward on those things, the more open you are to that change, the more likely you are to succeed. Okay. And I think that's where, kind of coming from this and wait and see attitudes and see where all the dust settles, and it tends to work all in our favor, right?
Okay.
I'm seeing a little bit of maybe a generational shift as well, as the younger generations are coming in and starting businesses, starting MSPs. They are more exposed, I think, to the mergers and acquisitions conversation from an early stage. I know a lot of MSP owners. I'm one myself. At my age, we're probably going to die at our desk in some cases. But we also love our business, and we maybe were raised to think that you find a good career and keep it forever. And so I think that is shifting a lot. We're learning a ton from the market. But also, like MSP owners like myself, we're getting 2-3 emails a week from super MSPs interested in looking at the company. So it's definitely driving a conversation. I think it's going to continue to happen. But it's also going to create opportunity for the smaller MSPs to come in and do new, exciting things. And that's sort of the thing that we have to allow happen in the market, I think, for innovation to continue happening.
Right.
I'd love to jump in. So we lost our booth, but I'm with Cisco. We're a small startup, just making it.
You lost your
business.
booth?
Yeah.
Did it
So-
like get lost in shipping? or
Yeah,
did
that's
you
my
just-
life. You
Okay.
guys. I was going to worry I was going to fall off the chair, so Rob was going to fall down in solidarity. So
Okay,
thanks for the
okay.
high stools, Robin. But Cisco is obviously been around for 38 years. We've had 237 acquisitions in that time. And so I'm a boomerang. I was at Cisco in 2005 for 13 years. I left for about 5, and I worked with MSPs predominantly during that time. And this is where my heart is, in this community. And when I returned, it was only for the opportunity to lead the managed service provider mission at Cisco, which is really not always understood by large enterprise vendors. And so for me, the idea is, I can't tell you how many times I get in a room and I say, are you a Cisco partner? And somebody says, I was years ago, but maybe you're not in my stack anymore. Do you sell Meraki? Yeah, we sell Meraki. Do you sell Duo? Awesome, yeah, we sell Duo. Well, welcome, you're in fact a Cisco partner. And people don't realize. So I think vendors do one of two things. You either take the brand that's known and loved and kill it after acquiring it, or you leave it so autonomous that people don't know that you're connected to it. And my goal and my intention and what I'm trying to do at Cisco is to marry those worlds together and make sure that we always have you in mind as our managed service providers and as our partners and your end customers. How can we simplify that process? How can we unite it together? And how can we make it easier for you to do business with us and not harder? And it's a real challenge, but we're working on it.
Very good. Cool. And there's your fans over there. Okay, very good. All right. Yeah. Whoever.
Robin, on the point of, is M&A, what is all this about? I think it comes down to really 2 words: recurring revenue. And that's something that managed services has always been about. And, going back to 20 plus years ago when I started our MSP, we called it IT outsourcing. I don't know how many of you all actually pitched IT outsourcing. That was a tough pitch to anybody, and you were a threat to internal IT. And this whole concept of managed services has moved from a cottage industry into something mainstream. So when we talk to investors or we talk to end customers, the concept of an MSP or managed services is no longer, what's that? Everyone knows about it. So from the perspective of why is M&A good? Anytime M&A is happening, it means there's something powerful going on, and it's something that has financial outcomes, which tells me every one of us are in the right place. And the best part is, it goes back to something you said, Robin, which is the total addressable market. This is a recurring revenue opportunity in a critical function that has an expanding addressable market. That's just a formula for success.
All
So
right.
that's my feedback on that.
Who here started their business to just have fun? Now, who here started their business to make money and have an exit? Most of you, right? When M&A and stuff like this is happening, it means opportunity. So all of you that got into business, to grow a business, to have a financial outcome, a transaction where you could be financially safe, this is what's driving that. Like Joe just said, 5-7 years ago, you were trying to define and explain what an MSP is. Today, you say, I'm an MSP, and people nod their head and know. Right? The industry is driving and propelling and creating more and more opportunity for you. You got sitting between $8 billion here now. That's insane if you think about it. 5 years ago, what was the most valuable company in the space? Maybe $1 billion when Datto did their big raise, right? Like, companies weren't hitting that level of value. Look at the opportunity for you now. Look at companies like Electric, who just went out and raised, what was it, a $20 million stack on at $1 billion valuation. This is insane, the opportunity that you guys all have now to jump on or keep riding that wave and take your piece of the opportunity.
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah, Danny.
So I think I'll start by saying, for the 8th and hopefully final time today, we are not being acquired by Kaseya.
Okay. Are you going to tell them about me buying you? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Let's not talk about Datto now. Okay, so no, so I think first of all, to your point, why did we start the business? We didn't start it to necessarily exit. We started the business to solve a problem. And I think, as most MSPs, you start the business because you believe there's a market for IT services in a managed fashion, or you evolve to that decision, and we're here to solve a problem, and I think everyone's here to solve the problem. I think where M&A comes in is, this is a valuable business. Whenever you provide a valuable service, and that valuable service makes you money and is recurring, it becomes valuable to other people. And there's always, when you think about M&A, you think about, can I reduce costs? Can I make more profits on the same services at a larger scale, not cut my management team to a smaller amount? And that's going to happen, and we see it happen all the time. I mean, generally, I don't think it's bad. I don't think anyone should be running away from it. From a vendor point of view, like I said, we're not selling, but I don't think it's bad when we see vendors selling. And from an MSP point of view, we love MSPs that are owned by PE firms because they tend to grow pretty quick, which means more revenue for us. But I think it's generally just part and part of the industry. It's a good sign of the industry. It's a good sign that the industry is strong. We plan to grow and not exit through a sale, hopefully an IPO one day, but and not to Kaseya. Not because we don't like Kaseya, just because that's not our plan. But I think that's really where we are on it.
Well, it's hard going last because all the different things that have been said, but I look at it a little bit. 2018, I was sitting out there as an MSP, and to go from there to ID Agent that was acquired by Kaseya and have been on the acquisition side of different companies and different things that we've rolled in, to understand from the MSP side, to be on the executive side now and being able to have the conversations of what the M&A, what happens when it takes place, the customer service, the support, looking at all those different things from that MSP lens, it's amazing to see, like Fred was talking about, like the profitability. When we acquire a different company and we put that into the motion and let them still be the company that made them what they are, go and put it into the ecosystem, just how amazing it is. And I think I like the M&A. I think it's something, especially on the MSP side, I'm talking with lots of owners that are getting multiples that they weren't seeing, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they're excited. It's their strategy, and it's coming to play. I think it's a really good thing for the space.
Okay. Well, since you have the mic, I'll put you on the spot a little bit there.
All right.
All right. I'm going to pick a fight. 3-year deals. I want to hear how what are your, I mean, this, and let me start out by saying that nothing is perfect. There's no all good and all bad, right? Because you could say 3-year deals. Some of you, how many out here, be honest, how many, raise your hand if you sell contracts that are 3-year contracts. Raise your hand, okay?
No outs. With no outs.
With no outs. Well, I mean, okay, so if you just say, well, fuck it, we're not doing your managed services anymore, but, that's not to say that so you make a mistake and then they're out. And I think even now, especially with labor costs being what it is, as you grow your MSP, you're going to have to be hiring people. You're going to have to be buying tools. If you're onboarding a client that's got 100 endpoints and users, and you're making that investment in the software and the people to support that, I don't know that it makes a good deal just to say, okay, we'll just go month to month. Tell us if you don't want it. I mean, so but I also understand a lot of you do not like 3-year deals. I totally understand that, and I'm not an MSP. I don't use the tools. So like I've said before, I don't have but I'm just curious because there's good and there's bad. Nothing's all good, nothing's all bad. So I just want to hear from your perspective, guys. 3-year deals, good, bad, indifferent. And Dan, you get to start.
Sure. I mean, look, I work with thousands of MSPs daily. It's a part of our program is to help enable them and go out. A lot of them are selling 3-year deals or at least multi-year deals. I think when you look at it, Fred hit on some of it. One of the things when you're talking packaging and pricing, and you actually had it in some of your opening slides, their profitability is going down. And one of those things is the predictable kit cost. Knowing that you can count on the price to be the same, your price isn't going to go up there. It's a heavy competitive market right now from the technicians. Your costs are going up there. Stabilizing your business, having a good price and plan, it's really critical. And I think a lot of the MSPs, and I've talked with quite a few of them out there that are signing 3-year deals, and they're giving their customers, if they sign a 3-year deal, they're giving them a 10 or a 15% price break because they know they have a customer. And to go out and acquire a customer like that, it's expensive. I mean, you run the numbers and the different things. So I don't think they're a bad thing. I understand some of the frustrations, and I understand where people are coming from. I think it's working on the business model, how to work it in, and really put it together. And I think those that we've been able to do it with are seeing really good success and profitability, and I really do. And we're seeing that on a daily basis.
Right.
3 words: shiny object syndrome. This is, I think, one of the biggest fallacies of being an MSP, which is we just want to see what the other tool has, and we're always looking at switching, and this is so impactful for the business. And so 3-year terms, I think, need to be coupled with enablement. And to Dan's credit and Kaseya's credit, Dan runs a wicked enablement program at Kaseya, which I think if anybody here has experienced it, please give him a round of applause, because it is a powerful tool. But what I'll say is that those 3-year terms have to be coupled with the enablement, and the MSP has to be committed to growth instead of trying to hedge their bets. Now, I come from a time when I had to spend 10 grand with 0 customers to buy perpetual software. So I think we forget also how good we have it today to just be able to lock in our price on a monthly basis while we grow into the revenue, if we're focused on the right things.
Okay.
I don't like 3-year terms.
Okay.
Here's why, right? I get the business, viability of it all. If you're valuing your business and if you're looking at, what your business is worth, having pre-booked forward-looking revenue is very good for you, and it's very advantageous. And I would never fault a business for making that business decision. But I think we live in a world now where the modern consumer is the business consumer, and they want to be able to consume and leverage and subscribe to services the way they can everything else in their life. It's a consumption model, it's a consumption world. And if you look at some of the unit economics and some of the metrics that a lot of modern companies are using, net retention rate is one that comes up. It's stuff that Datto reports on their net retention rate and other public companies like Enable. And that's where you can recoup some of that value, and I get the cost savings and stuff like that. But for me, I'd always want a partner or a customer or a client that wants to be in business, or that is in business with us because they want to be in business with us. Not because they have to, not because they feel beholden to it. So I think for me, it's a focus, thank you, on the partner experience, on the customer experience. Thanks, big guy.
Hey, no touching down there, all right? Just keep your
You
hands-
never
you're
said
Bob,
that.
You're out of control. Michelle, next thing, try that on her. Let me
think
see what happens.
I think it comes down to the partner experience, the customer experience, and you're doing great things with it, but I think that doesn't have to be attached to an agreement that way. But every business, I would never fault a business for doing it, but if you don't like them, like Fred said on stage, you don't have to sign them. You don't have to do that. You have an option. So I don't see them. I don't
Fair enough.
need them.
All right.
I'll add a thought, aligned a little bit to what Colin said, which is, look, I'm a fan of freedom of choice. I know that the MSP, wants that degree of control. I was there when I operated my MSP. I do, appreciate the shorter terms, but what I'm seeing with these larger service providers that are coming to us, to Liongard, they're seeking to negotiate a 3-year contract actively with us to lock in a price. And so that's if I'm in your shoes and you're really interested in something on the Kaseya suite, hey, look, negotiate and seek, it's like, well, what's the value I'm going to get in return for that 3-year contract? And I would push for that. And going back to the point, you have a choice. There are other players out there, so you make that choice based on ROI, based on the value that you're seeing. So.
Okay, that's great.
I do like 3-year. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Hold on. 3-year contracts are amazing. If you guys can get 3-year contracts set up with your actual end users, that's ideally what you want. And a lot of the vendors are trying to drive that behavior and drive that mentality where if you have a 3-year contract with us, you're going to go drive a 3-year contract with your end user. However, I find a lot of vendors don't necessarily listen to the MSPs well enough because what we need to, thank you. There, I got it. What we don't understand, or what vendors in typical don't understand, or they get maybe too obsessed with what it is that they are doing. They think that we are the only vendor that you work with. They don't know that you get 35 calls from the 35 different vendors that you're working with to run your business as part of your stack. On top of all of these spammy calls you're going to get from every vendor that you dropped a business card off to this week, on top of all that. They don't understand that. When I think, and I constantly reminding my sales folks of this, is that when they're calling you, you don't live and breathe Datto every single day. I mean, yes, you might be using our products and live in our products, but you have a lot of other products that are in your stack that you care about just as much as us. We are not your only vendor. We're not your only choice. And I think when we take a step back as vendors, and I'm constantly working with other vendors on this to understand the MSP model, you have to be able to offer variety and whatnot based on what it is that you're going and offering. Because guess what? You find me in 2020 and you sign a 3-year contract with me, and then you find Colin in 2021 and you sign a 3-year contract with him, and then you find Dan in 2022 and sign a 3-year contract. You're now all of a sudden stuck not for 3 years, you're stuck for, what is that, 5 or 6 years now with potential vendors that don't line up with the contracts that you have with your end users, right? Add in, some of your end users go out of business, some of them get bought, sometimes they go and sign with another MSP even though they're in a contract with you. I think it's important for vendors to have a certain level of flexibility within how we do business and how we engage with the MSP market. And I think it's super important that we spend the time to understand how are you going to market. And if you want 3-year contracts and signing a 3-year contract with me is good and it's going to match up so that we all expire on the same day, so we're all making buying decisions on the same day, and you're never left with shelfware. How many of you are paying for shelfware, something that you're paying for that you're not even making money on? Why does anybody want that? Right? So those are the things that I think as a community we all need to do a better job, whether it's 1, 2, 3, open contracts, closed contracts. I think we just all need to communicate better from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Dan, you want to go?
So I think, first of all, we don't do 3-year deals. We offer them, not at a discount, but if people want to lock in their price, we make it an option for you. But I think it's important to understand from your own point of view and from the vendor's point of view why 3-year deals can be useful. It's cost of acquisition. I mean, the reality is marketing's not free. I mean, Robin invites us here free of charge every single time. It's very kind of her. But
I'm not going to slap you. Like, he's like...
Yeah. So, marketing's not free. And the reality is, as a SaaS provider, unlike an MSP, our biggest cost is the cost of marketing. We're typically paying more than your first year's revenue, which means we have to figure out a way to get you to implement. Because the 3-year deal isn't about, and we don't, like I said, we don't do 3-year deals, but it isn't about, hey, I want to make sure I get my money back for 3 years. It's if you're on the hook for 3 years, you're more likely to put the work in to deploy the product. So I see Fred's point of view, hey, I want you to actually go and deploy this product. I don't want my product to be shelfware. We put massive amounts of money into and training and procedures and to make sure our engineers, our account managers are calling you and annoying the crap out of you until your machines are secure. Not deployed, but secure. And the reason we do that is because we know if you're using our product, you're gaining value from our product, you're going to keep paying us. I mean, it's simple as that. It's not about what the contract says. We don't do 3-year deals anyway. We focus on making you use the product, and we put various incentives in place to do that. But when you're thinking about your own customers, think about, well, how much does it cost me to acquire this customer? What do I need to do to keep this customer renewing with me, regardless to whether it's a contracted piece of paper or whether it's because they love me?
Right. Okay.
So from my perspective, yes, let's give Danny a round. So from my perspective, there's just a shift in times, right? I mean, when I started at Cisco in 2005, we were selling chassis 6509 switches in server rooms, and now everything is about cloud-enabled, automated monitoring. You see companies like Cisco, IBM, Dell, HPE, all moving subscription consumption in the future. And so how do you meet the customer where they are? And so we are trying to do things differently than we would normally by really creating a better experience, which is important, not to feel stuck, but that you choose to be a part of it. That's a very different story, because you may keep them for 3 years, but what happens on year 4? Because if you're not happy and you don't feel invested and you don't feel like you've been nurtured and grown as a partner, it's not a valuable experience. And so, thank you. And so I would add, I look at B2C, right? In COVID, we all kind of experienced this. How many people used to have, show of hands, a stationary bike that they hung clothes on? I'll admit it, I did. Robin ran, I did not. So, but all of us have these opportunities. Now, how many people in the room have a Peloton or Netflix that you would just let run forever because you enjoy it, you have the right experience, you're part of a community, it's giving you value, it's driving you success. If you don't have that, it's not worth investing in. And so every vendor, every partner's goal is to make their end customer feel they have the ideal experience and the ideal value. And we're trying to create new avenues. So for example, we have our provider program, which is a year-long commitment, but we also started Secure Center and Duo, pay as you go, month by month. Don't like it? Back up. Because we want to meet you where you are. And we are confident enough in our solutions and products that you will like it and you'll stay longer. And if we're not doing that well, then we shouldn't be in business. We shouldn't do it.
Okay. All right, and I'm sorry, we're going to say, did you want to?
Just one quick rebuttal, if I may.
No.
I think just to follow up the previous comments, I think they're all valid. And I'm not a fan of no term, but what I'll say is that I think there's a lot of distractions for MSPs, and a product that is enabled for self-serve, like Duo, which is a fantastic product, is easy for somebody to turn on and turn off. But there's a lot of investment that goes into tweaking RMM. Like, people spend years turning that into a platform that is truly driving value. And Fred hit that number, that 10% utilization rate of products. It's crazy how little we use the entirety of our products. And so I think the commitment, sort of the skin in the game of putting a little bit of effort into deploying and the enablement that vendors are doing it's a little bit of another side of the coin. I'm not saying everybody should go and sign 3-year deals. I'm just saying think about the effort you're putting into some of these heavier tools that require a lot of effort and a lot of costs of switching too when you decide you need to move.
Yeah. All right, Michelle, you have the mic. So what I want to do now is you heard me talk about the threats, you heard me talk about the opportunities in the MSP market. Talk about specifically what you're doing to help MSPs with the labor shortage, with the costs rising, with the super MSPs, and just the opportunities that are there. So I want to go down the line here, and we'll start with you, Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, because I'm a big fan of everyone on this panel, truly. I feel like everyone up here cares about everyone in this audience, and they want the best for you, and that's what I'm trying to bring back to Cisco. Mm-hmm. As a boomerang, I understand that not every company understands you as a demographic, understands SMB, MSPs, and oftentimes you might feel overlooked or undervalued or underappreciated, but it is one of the fastest growing demographics in our arena. In fact, the average MSP's growth was 10% year over year. During the pandemic, that growth was 23%. Our MSPs, 32%. So we are rapidly accelerating, and we're seeing all of our companies double down on this opportunity so we can grow together. And it's so important now more than ever that we invest in your success. And I'll, affectionately say, don't kill me, Cisco, but there's 50 people fanning and feeding grapes and all of our big vendors. And that's fine. We like them. They're great. But I care about you, and this is intrinsically why I'm here and why I was hired, so that I can say what's important to our big vendors isn't necessarily what you need. You need different marketing help. You need different content, different lead generation, different campaigns, different engagement and education and support. And we need to, as vendors, help you. There's 73,000 managed service providers around the world, typically an 8-person shop. If you're about 8 people, raise your hand. So how can we help you scale? How can we help you grow, and how can we invest in your success? A big part of what we're doing is creating a community, just like you have here with Robin. We want to be a part of your community. We want to sponsor communities that you already know and love. And we want to show up and participate and support in them, and then invite you to ours as well, through webinars and through inviting amazing speakers, like many of you have participated in our webinars and our panels. And we could give you product pitches all day long, but if we can help your business grow, that helps you grow. And you'll remember who helped you grow. So that's my goal.
All right, very good. Sure, Rob? Now, you can't say much of anything, can you? Or are you allowed to say like what the future is? I just want to preface it because, again,
Yeah, I think
Okay.
there's yes.
I don't want to. Yeah, I just want you guys to know it is, it is a like a legal matter. Like they can't necessarily talk about.
Maybe I didn't understand the question because now you're starting to scare me.
I don't know. I'm just trying to, not get anyone in trouble. But no, what are you doing? What is Datto doing to help the MSPs with the opportunities, the threats that they're facing?
That's easy.
Yeah.
Now understand, like as much as we're in a state of potential change, like it's business as usual. It's business as usual for all of us as this continues to go. So when I'm thinking about what I was thinking about last week, I think nothing has changed. I think that I was at a conference not that long ago, and I watched vendor after vendor after vendor get on stage and talk about cyber resiliency, but they did it at such a basic level. Tell me you don't want to blow your head off now when you hear a cyber resiliency presentation, because we're all saying the same damn thing. We're not getting into the guts of it. And I think where it continues, and I think this is where a lot of vendors need to do and continue to do a lot of work, and I put a lot of energy into that. And sure, some of you are Datto partners that don't pay any attention to the assets and the investment that we make in helping you grow your businesses. That's fine. Some like go to third parties. I mean, why you're all here is because Robin doesn't represent any particular vendor. She's helping you with your sales and marketing, and has no motive to try to sell you more backup or more RMM or something along those lines. So, there's lots of different areas for you to be able to go out and find those things. If we focus on kind of where the growth opportunities are and where I'm thinking about that, obviously cybersecurity is one of those things. I think we're all on the verge of this. I think that we have an opportunity to really. This is, I think, a lot of the investments that we're seeing and the billions of dollars that we're seeing are all bets that a lot of people are making, that you will all figure out cybersecurity, that the service will become more essential and more lucrative than ever before, that larger organizations are starting to seek you out. I've heard more conversations from MSPs about co-managed IT at this particular conference than ever before, and that seems to be every conference that I go to. It's just more and more and more. That's a representation of us going up market, which means we all need to learn new stuff. We all need to learn what do we need to have in our stack that's not in there today? What do we need to continue? How do we position that stuff? How do we make money with that stuff? I still get questions on how to price BDR. Well, we should start talking about how we're pricing cyber resiliency services, and how do you do that for mid-market, large market versus what we've traditionally done with SMB. So a lot of my energy and effort still continues to go into that. I have by no means perfected that, but we're all baby stepping this way together, and we will figure it out, and that is the reason why we're all going to be wildly successful as time goes on. I think that there's also massive opportunity for growth here. I look at your event as a perfect example. There are vendors here I have never heard of before. And I think that is an amazing thing. A lot of them are coming from the security space. A lot of them are trying to figure out the MSP space. I think that is an amazing opportunity for us because 6, 7, 8 years ago, Datto was one of those vendors that was here trying to figure out the MSP space, and then all of a sudden now we're predominantly in most of your stacks. I think there is one of those vendors that's out there right now. So massive opportunity for growth, massive opportunity for education. All of us are doing something in an effort to move the entire industry forward, and that comes through tools, it comes through education, it comes through webinars, it comes through all this stuff. And I will say one more thing. I belong to a group, it's a peer group but for vendors, and it's very, very large vendors like Cisco that are part of this group, and they invited me into this group, and I thought, what the hell am I doing here? Because I was the only real MSP technology company that was there, but that was the reason why they invited me. Think of all the large multi-billion-dollar international organizations that are out there. They're part of this group, and they invited me in because this group wanted to understand managed services. And I'm kind of the managed services guru, if you can imagine that, in this group. And they're constantly asking me, like, they see the growth, they see the opportunity, they see everything that you are doing, very similar to what Cisco's doing, where a big part of their business now is managed services. And they're starting to focus some energies and hired a wonderful person that understands MSP in Michelle to come and do those kinds of things. I think that when we look at that and the attention that this is getting, I think you're going to probably see more and more investment, even from large organizations, to help define the story and help end users understand the story better, and that ultimately will bring us all up.
Very cool.
Long-winded answer.
Okay, no, that's great. Very good. All right. Colin? Yeah, I mean, like one person.
I guess
Like,
I don't have to say anything. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. So what Gradient is doing, And a lot of people wonder, what the hell does Gradient do? Because they see our flamingos. It's the big mystery. We're investing in MSPs, figuratively speaking, to drive them forward so that we can create more opportunity for you guys, so we can create more opportunity for everybody up here. So this year alone, and we're not a billion-dollar company, but we're investing $3 million in educating MSPs to help them drive growth, to help them become better operationally and make themselves better. The other thing that we're doing, though, is making sure that for all the effort that you guys are putting in, everything that you do with Rob and all the stuff that you work on, the deals you close, the clients that you're expanding with, that you're actually getting paid for what's getting delivered. We had an MSP stop by the booth today, and they found $1,200 in the last week that they weren't billing their clients for every month. That's $14,000, more than $14,000 a year in profit that we just put back in their pockets. Another one that came by and found $2,500, $30,000. I'd venture to say there's MSPs here who didn't profit $30,000 last year. 25% of MSPs are losing money every year. So that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that all of this business that you've earned, the business that you've sold, that you're getting paid for it, so that all the tools that you're selling, that consumption is flowing through properly to your clients without you pulling your hair out every month. The other thing that we're offering is freedom of choice. So as an integration platform, we allow a whole bunch of tools, there's a couple up here, to be able to connect to your PSA. Now, there was a big deal that just got announced, and there's some skepticism and people worried, right? But if you think about it, if you think, is somebody going to lock somebody out on an integration? Are they going to stop something from flowing for me? We've worked with groups like Datto, with Kaseya, with all the other PSA platforms to make sure that we can continue to foster an open ecosystem where you have freedom of choice. That's the stuff that we're doing to help the industry.
Perfect. That's great. Very good. All right. Dan.
So a couple of things that we're working on at Kaseya is, the workflow integrations. Fred was talking about it. I think that's really big. I mean, making your technicians more efficient, helping them have the mental health. I mean, this is a stressful industry, and I think being able to make it easier on our technicians to be able to do their job and serve the customers, that's really important. So that's one of the big areas that we're investing time in. The other is the area that I have the ability to run, and I love this side. Coming from the MSP space, I would buy products all the time. I'd buy things and I'd go and get it, and I think you were talking about shelf, shiny object. You go swipe a credit card and then you're like, how do you go implement that? So we invest a lot of time and energy into how do you package that? How do you price that? How do you put it into your current offering? And not everybody prices and packages the same. So our team works with you individually on what makes sense for you. How should you put it into your offering? You've got former MSP CEOs, marketing managers, salespeople that work on this team now, and we did that for a reason. We want to invest in our partners. We want to make sure that you're successful, that you have the marketing content that doesn't have a logo about us. It has 0 logos. It's written as it's coming from you, and it's all about you and your brand. That's critical, and we've learned that because I have partner advisory councils. I'm active in the community. I want to wake up every day and help every one of our partners go out there and make money. And I think that's the mission for me, my team, is how do we go out there and make you successful? And it's not just a vendor pitch up here. If you know me personally, this is something that it's near and dear to me. And it's because we've got over 2,500 sales enablement assets, and we're adding hundreds every month. It's because of the feedback. Everybody's got different verticals. Everyone's like, hey, I need something for financial. I need something for law firms. And we're investing in that. And we're spending the time not just to give you a piece of collateral and say, good luck. We're investing it in saying, hey, here's a piece of collateral. How can we help you go use this? How can we help you go and have the conversation? I'll do the webinar with you. I'll go to the sales meeting with you. And it's not just about our product. We know there's other products in the mix. At the end of the day, it's making you successful, and I know that's one of the things I have the great joy, and I'm proud of where we're going and how we're doing that now through our program.
Yeah. When were you better your best? What year was
2018.
2018, right? I'm still trying to recruit you, Okay.
Yeah, I'm
just
still
saying.
getting bad date campaigns.
I know,
I
right?
haven't responded yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I love what Dan was talking about. We refer to that as Msp Dna, right? It's like, how do you bring that MSP DNA forward to y'all? There's a point I want to suggest, and this is a challenge I faced in my MSP, and it's a forced choice. You want to delight your customers, right? You want to do this every day, and that's how you're going to drive growth. But on the other side of this seesaw is this issue of being in a labor-intensive business, that's what this is about. And what that does is it reduces your margin, right? This is the topic that Robin's been talking about here at the presentation. And that reduction of margin is this seesaw thing that you're like, man, how do I do this? How do I hire the right amount of folks to then delight those customers? And it comes down to the top line and that bottom line. And when we think about that labor-intensive business, I'm going to be very direct with y'all. What we're thinking about at Liongard is we talk about a level 4 tech, and we're talking about automating all of those workflows that you all are spending a lot of time on, whether that's billing reconciliation, right, and finding lost money, whether that's what we brought to market way back in the day, which was automating documentation, integrating into IT Glue back in the day, automating that, automating onboarding, automating all of those things that your most expensive engineers are wasting their time doing. They've got higher quality work they need to be doing. You don't have enough of those folks. If you solve for that, right, really invest in this automation, in the concept that the kit, right, that Fred was talking about, the top side, the top line is what I'll close with, and that is you want to figure out what high margin services you need to be thinking about, and cybersecurity and compliance. What Robin's been talking about is so important. It needs to be baked into your offering in a way that you can escalate that price. You have to show value with a high value service. It's staring at you in the face. It is critical. It is necessary. People do not need to be convinced about this. Secondary to that, and if you are struggling, and that goes back to the last point, which is co-managed IT. When you talk to a larger end customer, those fights that you're having are going to happen less and less and less. They're not going to ask you, why do I need security? They're going to say, how are you doing it? And that's what you want to position yourself around, is co-managed IT. And I encourage you all to come by the booth, because that's an area that I've personally lived in, and we built our MSP on co-managed IT in the mid-market space. And it's awesome to see, Robin, you messaging on it. It's an area that we see clearly our partners are benefiting from in working side by side with internal IT and delivering higher MRR, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month type deals. And those are the types of deals we used to do back in the day as well. So there's some really good points here. And I love the messaging, because, I mean, this is what we got to dig into.
Sounds good. All right.
Such great points. I'm really bullish on experience, and I think a few of you have touched on that as well. You know, because I think things like automation, things like efficiency, like say efficiency one more time, I think are driving us crazy, because this is the messaging and the narrative we've been hearing for decades at this point. And so if a product doesn't have, this is the minimum common denominator today of anything going to market. It has to have automation, it has to have efficiency creating techniques for our staff and such. But I think a lot of the nuance of relationships and building trust and communicating can easily be lost. And so with ScalePad, one of the things that I'm trying to bring to that table is how to help partners, how to help MSPs have better conversations with their clients, how to set up their strategic focus for success. Because realistically, we're very reactive to the issues, and we come in and we solve problems, but it's hard to think, 3 months, 9 months, 12, 3 years ahead. That 14 grand could go towards that 3-year contract, by the way. So, and so there's a lot of things to think about where experience is concerned. And so I'd say experience is a big deal. Customers, especially through COVID, cared a ton about how they were being treated. We had customers come to us and say, hey, we had to lay off half of our staff. Can you give us a break this month? So there's no contract that matters in that scenario. It's only, doing the right thing, and that it comes through experience.
All right, very good. All right. All right.
I'll keep this short. First of all, I mean, all of these points are very valid, and helping partners, automating, making everything really simple. It's basic technology. I mean, that's why we're in the technology game. But I think there's something that's more important when we talk about our partners. The biggest and the problem everyone has in this room is human time. Engineers, how much time are they spending a day, and how much time are they waiting on me or my support staff? And I say that very, very seriously, because if you have to go to a vendor and wait for 4 hours for them to come back to you, or 6 hours, or 2 weeks, that shit just won't fly. I mean, you're burning your own time, and you can't get that time back. For me, we are focusing, I mean, we've got 30-second response time on support, 24 hours a day, and this isn't the stuff that, you know, some guy in India is picking up the chat. We're talking about our engineers sitting in Florida, and they will pick up in 30 seconds. I know this because it doesn't matter what time of day it is, my house speakers go off at 60 seconds that they didn't. So someone gets fired if they don't. But I think as vendors, and that's not a joke. As vendors, we have to be better at this, because we can't expect our clients to be waiting on us when they have a problem with our product. And we're all going to have problems. These products aren't easy, but getting good support matters more than anything else, and fast support.
That's what you're focused on. Right. Okay, very good. All right. So we have a couple minutes. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience. We have microphones. It's hard to see up here. If there's any questions that you'd like to ask, if you'll make your way to a microphone. Let's go over here first. I think is that Dave?
It is.
Okay. All right, we'll go over.
I just want to make a couple of comments about 3-year agreements, if I might.
It's like a theme.
So in order for a 3-year agreement to work, it has to have several components, one of which is delivery of what we're buying. And in some cases, we make a 3-year agreement with the vendor and they don't deliver. And then we're stuck with a vendor for 3 years, and we get to go find another one and pay them again to do it right the second time. We've had relationships with businesses for 15 years, vendors, who have been sucked up, merge and acquisition. And then the relationship and the time that you have spent with that company over the course of 10 or 15 years means nothing to them. It's okay for a 3-year agreement to be signed, but then when they don't give you what they tell you they're going to give you, and you try and get out of that agreement, or when the service isn't being delivered and they tell you, well, the only way you're going to get that out of your agreement is if you lose that customer and you can prove that to us. That's not where this is going to go. I'm not going to wait until I lose a customer to make an adjustment. And if the vendors don't want to understand that, then I don't have to buy their product, and I won't.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was like wondering if you had a question, but I can't see who it.
It's Fred.
Fred. Okay. Sorry.
One of the things that I've found works well is something that I've seen from Rob, I've seen from Michelle, I've seen from Danny. I haven't worked with everybody on the panel, but that is, they say, we're going to offer you a trial opportunity. It's something that's debatable on whether it's worthwhile because of the investment in time. But if you have the confidence in your product, often it can pay off, because it gives somebody 14 days to try out your product and say, you know what, this is doing what I'm looking for, rather than saying, hold on, sign this contract, it's 3 years, now you can use the product. So I find that for my business, that is a very difficult situation to work with. And when I've worked with Rob, when he was at LPI, he stood behind it. He gave a 1-year guarantee. When I work with Danny, he says you got 14 days or 30 days to try it. And I've worked with other vendors as well, and they have offered that opportunity. And I think that's a consideration that some of the larger, as you say, mega MSPs might consider for the sake of improving their relationships.
Okay. You mean for the vendors, not the MSPs?
Well,
The
yes.
big vendors. Yes.
That's-
Okay. All right. Very cool. All right. Any other questions for the panel? Guys, thoughts? Last final thoughts that we have?
Can I comment on Fred's?
Sure. Yeah, if you'd like to. Yeah.
Great comments, Fred. I think you're right on the money, and I think there's also not all products are made equal where those trials are concerned. I remember when I was at IT Glue, we at some point there's no way somebody in a 15-day time frame could understand what IT Glue could do for them. It would require basically, 3 months, 6 months of use before that made any sense. And it was also a time when there was really no other solution on the market doing that. So, maybe call it a chess move to remove trials and start to do things like that. But IT Glue was month to month at the time as well. So, but I'd say all products are not made equal. And but you're right. Some products require a big time investment, a lot of effort to spin up to even understand if they're the right product. And so I'd recommend to every MSP in the room is work on your criteria for evaluating products. This is something that I think we fail at a lot. We come in, we just look at the shiny outside things that, oh, this feature looked great, let's jump over. Surely it does everything else just as well, only to realize it doesn't. And I'm hearing some mutter there in the audience. I'm sure they agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I wanted to actually jump onto this side. So I think the trials is great, but I also think from my point of view, we should drive customers to fully deploy during that trial period, not just dabble around, get it into the weeds with it. But I think on the point of the contracts, I don't think there's anything wrong with handing a vendor their ass and saying, take this contract in front of a judge if they're not delivering on the services. I did it with Salesforce. They didn't deliver. They dumped my ass as soon as I signed that contract. Great service on the trial. Didn't even answer the phone once I got the trial through. I just said, go away, cancelled, put it in front of a judge. If you have an agreement for someone to deliver something, period, they should deliver it. And like, and just because they get scary and say, oh, we're going to sue you, say, okay, let's see what the judge says. And most of the time, if they haven't delivered, they won't put it in front of a judge. If I'm speaking wrong about a vendor, I hope not. But I've done it before, and I hope everyone else would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a point on that, and I would say 2 words to it is demand more from your vendors. Do it, and I would encourage you all to do that because it really tests the vendor. And with the trial period, look, I mean, Liongard's got a proof of concept. We've got a satisfaction guarantee on entry. Many of you all have tried the platform. Many of you all have gone through our Smart Start process. Really push that vendor, and I am a huge fan of full deployment during that process. Get that value, demand more out of the partner success teams so that you can get their help to do it. And if the vendor isn't doing that for you, then they shouldn't be your partner, right? They need to be there with you, and they need to help you roll it out so you get that full value. So when I run into a partner that says, hey, Joe, I'm not getting the full value on Liongard yet, what do? We get our account management team, we do an onboard refresh, and we make sure we get them to full value. And that's so important. Just demand more, please.
Got it. All right. I think we have well, let's go over here because Dave already got it.
I want to reply to that comment, if I might.
Okay.
Like, when a vendor is charging you, I'm paying $1,500 a month to a vendor for no service because of a contract, an agreement, right? Can't use the product, can't use the service. I get to pay for it because that's the agreement.
If the product doesn't work, then why they've broken their part of the contract. I mean,
That's
the
exactly
agreement
right.
doesn't say you have to pay me. I mean, I haven't read the agreement.
Well, I mean, that's great, but have you tried to cancel a credit card that's set up to have prepayment made by a vendor on a
Call the
regular
bank.
basis?
And,
I mean, how do you do that? Like, you just say, hey, I'm not going to pay you anymore. Well, that's great. That's not how it works. I mean, it's...
Well, like, guys, I don't want this to get into
I get it,
I
but
don't like that. We're not here to. I mean, I understand. I totally get your point of view. And I would like everyone's saying up here, demand more from your vendors. Go back.
It's no different than what our customers demand from us.
Right.
Robin, we pay you money every month, every
Yes, you
year,
do.
and you deliver. And I don't even know what I pay you. And I don't care. I honestly don't. Like, I'm serious.
Up his charge.
Yeah. Stephanie knows what I pay you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's not about, when you buy the product, I'm all in. I want to do
Well,
it,
and
but
let
it's
me
gotta be a
tell you
two-way
to this too. Anyway, and like, because I try to stay out of it, but I do have relationship with the vendors, and every one of you, like my team, if there's any kind of problem, we try to reach out, we try to mend fences. So I can't always, because sometimes a phone call from me can help. I can't fix everything, and I'm not like, I don't want to get into reading the contract. I mean, I can't do that, but I do think that, with the 3-year deals, I mean, there's two sides. I mean, one side is if you saw the deal and you signed it, and you got into that contract, there's that one side. Now, if the product doesn't work, you're absolutely right. Then they should be held to task. You should get what you pay for. Absolutely. So I think all of this, it gives, sorry, Dan, I know you're, but Kaseya, if that's what's contentious, there's competition. There's alternatives, and I mean, that's what, and I would say for all of us, is for all of you, you've got much bigger fish to fry and things to worry about than stewing on this. I mean, it's a problem, I get it, but right now, I think with labor costs going up, inflation going up, you guys have way more to worry about than that, and believe me, everybody in this room has been in a contract with somebody who did not fulfill. Everybody in this room. And sometimes you know what you do? You just move on. Because like $1,500 a month, you know what? 1 hour of my time is worth 10 times that, right? And sometimes you just gotta, you take your lumps and you move on. So I don't want to defend anybody, but I also don't want it to get contentious. So, all right, let's take the question over here.
Okay, keeping in mind the whole idea of our time is finite and, technician resources are low, rolling out products can be really, really time intensive. So one of the things that we've often wished for, just to let people in the channel know, is more white glove services. Because I can have 16 meetings with you to understand how to roll out your product, or I could tell you what I need and have more assistance. I'd love to hear from the people on the stage, maybe, if there's plans or if you have something like that, so that, I can understand who I might want to partner with more, because everything feels so fast-paced, and being able to, do that myself is taking me away from things like sales and running the other aspects of my company. So,
before they answer, can I ask you, is there a vendor that does it really well, in your opinion?
No, but
all right. Well, there you go.
I will say this: we are Liongard partners, and I know that they did have quite a few meetings with several of our members of our proactive team, and I think that was really helpful. But I still think that as an owner, I don't understand all of what you do. And I was looking at some of the sales stuff, going, well, there's ways that we could be using this that we're not currently using this, and what a tech will hear, what an owner will hear, what different people in different roles hear is wildly different. So I just kind of wish there could be more, and I'm sure there's a cost for it, don't get me wrong, but I wish there would be something that would help us kind of do a full wraparound when it comes to how we use things. So I'd like to have some more details about that.
Since you called out Liongard, I'll respond. And so, yeah, our Smart Start process, that's the beginning of any relationship with us, is that process to get folks up and running. And so we've rolled out a concierge Smart Start process that actually is an advanced one that helps walk you all through. It's one-on-ones all the way through, and we're walking you through the process. Kendricks, who runs the partner success engineering team, is here. So if you want to get with them on that, I think it's so important. I think the re-onboard process as well. Sometimes you lose resources and you need someone else to get up and running. I think it's important for that vendor to have a certification process. Liongard has one, as well as that type of concierge service, and it's something that we continue to do better. And God help me if that documentation site sucks, man, that is not setting you up for success, and that's something that's critical for all of y'all to be successful. But agreed, we need, and then again, demand more. We'll be there.
That's what I'm doing.
We'll push. We're going to talk to you after this. Let's do it.
I think it comes down to flexibility, though, because I think everybody on this stage has offered onboardings for an onboarding fee, and put your hands up if you've ever bitched about having to pay an onboarding fee for a solution, right? So I think it comes down to flexibility. If you're asking for extra service, some of that will come at no cost for a lot of the businesses and even vendors up here. But if you're willing to pay for something, everybody's in business here. They'll give you that extra service. But I think on the other side, part of it's on us, again, back to the demand more, to make the products intuitive, okay? The reason that Apple did so well is the average consumer could open it up, get started, and get working with it. We're in a day and age where technology should be simple so that you guys can focus on your expertise and advising and counsel and everything else. So I think that's another big part of it, is making sure that onboarding and deployment can be automated and intuitive and easy to use.
Quick comment. I think the shiny object syndrome comes up again. I think it's easy for us to, as technical owner-operators in some cases, in most cases, to be like, oh, hey guys, we're using this tool now for this and this and the other. And so we failed to actually install process for rollouts of new tools and new applications. And I think that's one of the biggest impacts to the team. We sometimes don't hear about it, but they're talking about it. They're saying, oh, another tool, now we have to switch backup platforms again. And that's really impactful for the team. On the other side, I say, going back to the trials and all that stuff, I think ScalePad, for example, offers we just launched it today, a refreshed free edition that anybody here can sign up for and use the product indefinitely to see whether it creates value for you. And so, like Colin says, demand more from your vendors, but also make sure you're not letting go of the process that you need to deploy tools successfully as well.
All right, now guys, we're gonna have to wrap. I'm sorry, because and Danny, you still have a few words that you're gonna be saying to everybody, is that right?
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I wanna give a big round of applause to our panel. I thank you guys for being here very much.